Back again. Today we're going to do something different. I've got a 2001 Vulcan 1500 and I've got some upgrades to do to it. First is I have a new carb to go on. I also have a different air filter and what they call coaster plates, which you can see one of them right there. So you take them off and it's basically an air block off, and then there's a bunch of hoses and evap stuff that you can get rid of. There's also one of these on both sides, even though it's a single carb. So the carb's right here, right there, back here, and then it comes through a tube into this chamber, which has no filter, and then it has a tube that runs through the middle of the engine to another one of these on the other side that actually has an air filter in it. So I have the parts to get rid of the left side cover and the crossover tube and just make the air filter over here. So it just cleans everything up, makes the left side look a little more empty. But what I'm going to work on is getting this cover off, getting the carb out. You also got to remove the tank and the instrument cluster, so I'm going to do that first, and then I'll start working on getting this stuff out. Once I get some junk removed, I'll come back with you. Alright, so carb is out. You can see through both sides of the intake are off, or at least those chrome plates. Tank's off. Let me show you all the stuff that I've removed so far. I did disconnect the hoses from them and get them off. I don't know if you can see that one. Next I'm going to actually take those off, which is going to be kind of tricky, and then I'll replace them with the plates, which I'll show you here once I grab them. They're still wrapped up, but that's really all you do. You just take those off, which you can see right there, bolted to the cylinder, and replace it with these. And then along with that, this is all the stuff I won't need anymore. This was the filter and that side of the intake. This goes up under the gas tank, which attaches to the carb right here, or I'm sorry, attaches to this right here, sucks air in, and then the hoses that you don't need. This hose here does go to the top of the carb, so you do have to plug it, which I've got some plugs, so that's no big deal. But right now I'm going to work on, see, here's the other side of the intake, this thing here. So you can't actually get this out unless you break it or take the intake manifold off. And a lot of people don't want to take the manifold off because it leaks, or at least they can't get it to reseal, which I've had to throw some RTV on this one. I kind of want to take it off just so I can maybe coat the rubber in something to avoid any leaks down in the future. Plus then this will be whole if I ever wanted to put it back to stock. So I think I'm going to go that route. I'm going to just take the intake horn off. It's only 4 Allen screws, and then I'll get this out and I'll get back with you. Alright, I got the manifold off, and you can see I put silicone on it. None of the cracks were through, so it's honestly no real big deal, but there was a couple surface cracks that I put the sealant on just as a precaution. I also got that tube out, so you can already see how much extra room there's going to be. Next I'm going to work on the carburetor, which I actually have a bigger jet that I need to throw into it. I'm going up to a 170 main. So once I get the carb out of the box, and I'll show you how that's done real quick. Alright, here's the carb on the bottom. There's 4 screws here, there, there, and there. Once you get them off, carefully take the bowl off. Make sure the gasket stays in there. So this jet, if I can point to it right there, is your main. I don't know if there's probably not a marking on it, but I have a kit. I'm going to replace it with a 170. So you just unscrew it, screw it back in, throw the float bowl back in, make sure the gasket's good, and tighten up the screws. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll put it on the bike. Alright, here's what that assembly looks like. 2 bolts. It's got this cap, and then it has reed valves inside, and there is a gasket. You can't really see it, but there is a gasket in between the two. So this is the front cylinder. See, it's out. The bolts are 8mm. They are semi-long, which reminds me to say, use the bolts that came with the kit. If you try reusing the stock bolts, sorry, it's windy. If you try reusing the stock bolts, they're going to be way too long, and you'll end up punching through the water jacket or something of the motor. So there's more junk to throw into the scrap pile to get rid of. I'm going to start working on this back one, which I don't know, might be easier, who knows, but I'm going to work on this, and once they're both off, I'll show you the plates out of the package. Got the rear out, it's the same thing, reeds right here. But with this one, I would highly suggest taking out this top one first, because it is hard to reach in there, and then taking out the bottom one. I don't know if I can show you what's in there or not. Probably doesn't show nothing, it's too dark. But anyway, let me grab the new ones. Alright, give me just a second to get them unwrapped. Alright, here's the plates. They're both the same exact thing, so they're not side dependent. Just make sure it's flipped right depending on the bolt holes. And like I was saying, use the bolts that came with. The shorter one is the new ones, and these are the older ones. So what I did was take off the old gaskets off the old pieces, and I'm going to put just a thin film of RTV on both sides and get the plates in, and once they're in, I'll come back and show you what they look like. Alright, plates are installed. There's the rear cylinder, the front cylinder. So I got the carb in, the throttle position hooked up, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the filter on the other side bolted back up and get the tank and everything put back in, and then once I've got it back together, I'll get back with you. Sorry about the wind. Also wanted to mention, this is who I got the coaster plates from. It's Chuckster's Customs, chucksterscustoms.com. I don't know if that's going to focus or not. Had an itch, sorry. His email is chuckster1_31@comcast.net. That's how I got a hold of him. I just emailed him and said, hey, I want to get a set of the coaster plates. He emailed me back, and I believe it was that very day he had a set mailed out to me. So super fast service. If there's anything else that he has, I would definitely buy from again. But let me get the bike put back together and I'll get back. Alright everyone, it's all back together. I did already start it just to get the idle set, and honestly, I mean, I put it in, pulled the choke, and within about 2 or 3 cranks it fired up. It does have some coolant that I spilled that it's slowly burning off, but let's start it up and see what happens.